Hello, welcome to another Yoga with Tins yoga bite. For this video we're going to look at Janu Sirsasana, or one-legged forward fold. So this is a really good forward fold for doing if you sit in front of a computer for long periods of time, if you're working in a lab, anything where you're hunched over a worktop or over a bench. It tends to weaken the lower back, and this pose actively works to strengthen both the lumbar and the thoracic regions of the back, all those muscles that are weakened by sitting at a desk all day. This pose actively works to strengthen. There are a couple of variations of this pose. There's the side stretch as well as the stretch up the back, and you'll feel that each variation works the hamstring in a slightly different way as well, so changing the position of the torso actually changes which part of the hamstring is being stretched. And then I have a little floor for you at the end that includes a counter stretch in this that you can introduce into your practice as an actual little vinyasa in and of itself, without having to think about what counter poses you're wanting to use for this pose. And it's just a little bit of fun as well. So to start with, we're going to take the left leg out, turn them sideways on a little bit, and you're going to bring the right foot into the top of the thigh. So to prepare for this, if you haven't warmed up the hips doing sun salutations or things like that, you will need to just warm up the hips a little bit, and you can do that just by bouncing the knee up and down, just warming up that hip area, warming up the psoas muscles, warming up the hamstring as well, especially where it joins at the back here, just warming up the muscles that are going to be working. And you'll want to do that for about a minute just to get those muscles nice and warm. If you've already done other preparatory poses beforehand, you don't need to do that little bit of the warm up. So take your torso so that it faces over the left foot, inhale the arms up, and then exhale, you're folding forwards. So just like all the other forward folds, you're aiming to keep the spine as straight as possible, so you're keeping the hips in more of a cow position, so you're tilting the hips back in order to keep the back nice and straight, and you're aiming your chest towards your toes, not towards your knee. And make sure you relax the neck. You don't want any tension in the neck and shoulders. If you're really flexible, you'll be able to take both hands to the toes. I'm only taking one because otherwise I'm pulling my shoulders too much, so my other hand I'm resting on top of my first arm. And you can feel that this is really central on that hamstring, and you should be able to feel it on that lower back as well. And just breathing into it. If you are choosing to do this as a yin class, then you have to you're not actively pushing into the pose, so you'd have your foot relaxed and your arms down by the side, and you would just roll off the leg. This is a completely different stretch, and you should be really careful if doing the yin stretches that you're not actively pulling yourself down, you're just allowing yourself to relax. For the normal pose, you want your foot flexed, that protects the knee, and you want your back nice and straight. And then inhaling up, exhale the arms down. So we'll do that on the other side. So swapping the feet round again. If you've not done any hip work, any preparatory poses, you just want to bounce that knee up and down a little bit, warming these muscles up around this area. You don't want to do any damage whilst practicing the poses. Then making sure the foot's flexed, the torso's turned over that leg, inhaling the arms up, and exhale, folding forwards. So again, working the hips up to keep the back nice and flat, but allowing the head to relax, keeping the chest pulling towards that foot. And the hamstring, you feel it really centrally behind the knee in this particular pose. If you're doing yin, you can relax into it. The stretch on the hamstring in the yin pose is the same, but the mechanism is very different. And you'll notice that in this pose, you're very likely to get the knee down to the ground. If your knee doesn't come down to the ground and it feels uncomfortable, you could put a blanket or a block under that knee, just so that it's resting on something. Inhaling up, exhaling. So coming back to the first side, we're going to have a look at a side stretch variation of this. So this time your torso stays facing forwards. You're not turning to face over that leg, you're staying forwards. Inhale the arms up, and as you exhale, you take your left hand to the left foot and your right arm overhead. And so this time you're getting a nice side stretch up the side of the body, really working into that lower lumbar spine area. And you'll notice that the hamstring is slightly more onto the side this time, where you feel the stretch. You might also find that your knee doesn't stay quite as low down to the floor. You have to actively push it down, so that then works this hip as well. Inhaling up, exhale the arms down and swapping sides. Inhale up, exhale right arm down, left arm overhead. Again, noticing how this pose is different to the previous one. Making sure you're not hunching your shoulders up while you're doing this pose, but you're actively working them down. Feeling the stretch all up this side body. Feeling where the stretches in the hamstrings. Noticing the difference. Inhaling up. Exhale down. So now we're going to introduce a little bit of a flow, and then I'll have a look at a more advanced variation. So coming back to the first side. So you're going to start torso over the foot, inhale the arms up, exhale folding forwards. So again, inhale and an exhale here. On the next inhale, you're going to open your right arm up to the ceiling, turning the torso, and then exhale, taking the arm over the top, coming into that side stretch. And the next inhale, coming up, and you're going to take your right hand down behind you, and then exhale, you're going to plant your foot, lift the hips, and take the left arm back. So you're pushing in through the shin and the foot and the hand. Exhale, coming down. And you can actually keep that flowing, so then you exhale, coming over, inhale, exhale, inhale up, exhale, push forwards. So it's a nice flow. We'll do it on the other side. Inhale, stretching up, exhale, folding forwards. So we'll do it slow like we did on the other side. Inhale and exhale here. On the next inhale, opening the arm up. Exhale, bringing it overhead. Inhale and exhale here. And then inhaling up, taking the hand down, and on the exhale, stretching through. And then coming down. So now we're going to have a look at a slightly more advanced variation of this pose. So this uses lotus pose for this foot. So if you are able to bring the foot into lotus, you still want this foot to stay nice and straight. So you don't want this turning out to the side because of this foot being here. You want to keep that nice and straight. So you want your foot, if the knee doesn't come to the ground, you might want to put a blanket or a block underneath it. Depends how you feel. And then you're going to inhale the arms up, exhale down, and you take hold of the foot with the hand, and if you're able to, you can take the opposite hand round the back and take hold of the toe. You have to be quite flexible and quite far in the fold to actually be able to get hold of that toe, but that increases the stretch. Inhaling up and exhaling down, and then when you take your foot out, just give it a bit of a rotation before moving on to the opposite side. If I actually do this side this way, so foot nice and flexed, then bring your foot into the lotus position, keeping that foot flexed. It's very easy to want to push it out to the side because you've got this pressing into that muscle there. Inhaling up, exhale, coming forward, taking hold with this one, bringing this one round the back to try and catch the toe. So that again, the lower down you are, the more likely you are, the higher up your foot is in that lotus, the more likely you are to be able to catch it. But realistically, it's how low you are to the foot which determines whether you're able to take the bind in this pose. Exhale the arms down, take the foot out, and again, just do some circles, stretching that ankle out. So that's Janu Sirsasana, one-legged forward fold. I find that a really fun, enjoyable fold. I hope you've enjoyed learning this pose too, and I hope you find a way to incorporate it into your practice. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.